Howdy, Fi guys. I'm 30 years old and I'm living with my parents. Cool. A few years ago, we bought a house together, and this is the first house my parents ever owned. We spent most of my childhood in rent controlled apartments because they couldn't afford to buy, but now they love having a small backyard where they can garden and enjoy outside time. I contribute about $900 a month towards the mortgage. So far, I've built up a net worth of around 800,000 and have hit my fire number. And maybe just a quick pause. Chris, could you, what is a fire number?
Your fire number is basically at the point where you don't have to work anymore for money. You don't have to go paycheck to paycheck in order to survive. 800,000 for your fine number. I'm going to assume that's their coast fine number, meaning that they don't have to save any more in order to be able to retire comfortably in the future, unless they're going to be living off of $30,000 a year, just over $30,000 a year at 800,000. But I somewhat doubt it, depending on where they are. But we'll see. We'll see what they say.
My plan is to keep letting my investments sit until I'm 40, in which I will hope to have grown it to about 1.6 million by then, so I can retire early.
Okay, so that is Coast Fire.
Yeah. In addition to my investments, I have about $150,000 saved in high yield savings account. And I'm thinking about putting most of it towards our remaining mortgage balance, which is around $250,000. Gotcha. It wouldn't pay it off completely, but it would help. The loan is an FHA style mortgage with 3.5%. 1 second.
Nice.
3.5%. You heard that right. Interest rate, and monthly payments are around $2,000. Because of the loan structure, refinancing doesn't seem like an option. Why would you want to refinance, honestly? I mean, there are certain scenarios where you would. 3.5 in my lifetime, I don't know. My motivation here really isn't about improving my own financial position. I already feel like I won the game in many ways, but I do feel guilt. I was the main reason why we moved out of our rent-controlled apartment, and now I want to support my parents more as they're near their 60s. I do have some fun personal goals that might cost around $50,000 total, but they aren't urgent. I'm just trying to figure out what's the best use of my money, logically, emotionally, and financially. I would love to hear you guys' thoughts. From Fi's insight, but should I be help? But Fi's insight, but is helping right? Little tongue twister for me right there. Interesting. So this doesn't sound so much of a financial question. I know there's a lot of finance around it, but that's just the wrapping paper. That's the wrapping paper. What's the gift inside, Chris? Because giving up a 3.5%, FHA mortgage, I don't know if it's a 30 or a 15 or what's going on, or, how much even the mortgage is. I guess he does say the monthly payment is around $2,000, but what is he getting at here? Because it seems like, they could pay it off, right? Maybe save a little bit of money. Or would they really be saving any money? Or is it more of just an emotional thing?
And now you've hit the nail on the head, Dominic. It's most people come to us, most people come to me trying to solve their money issues. Remember what we say all the time. Personal finance is far more personal than it is finance. It's far more your emotions, the way you feel, than it is the numbers. When I hear this person talking, yes, there is a financial component, but the financial component has nothing to do with any of this. This has to do with the feeling of guilt. And that feeling of guilt is strong. That feeling of guilt scares the bejesus out of most people, because that feeling of guilt makes us look inside the mirror and not feel good about ourselves. It makes us feel that we're going to be cast out of the tribe if people find out what we did. So we try to fix that guilt. We try to look for anything we possibly can. And it seems that this person has put themselves into, if I pay off the debt, if I pay off the mortgage, then the guilt will go away. But I have to ask yourself, or you have to ask yourself, person that wrote in, is having your parents move out of their rent-controlled apartment into a better place of living, a place where they have a garden, a place where they like more, what do you have to feel guilty about? I don't understand why it said in there that you were the reason they had to move. I don't know what that means. I don't know if you moved to different states or whatever, but everything sounds like a positive. So why do you feel guilty? Are your parents making you feel guilty? Or do you just feel guilty for some random ass reason? And rather than sitting down with that thought, meditating on it, seeing why is it that I feel this way, Are you just saying, oh, if I just fix this, it'll make this feeling go away, rather than just being with it? You know, I used to struggle a lot with anger when I was younger. A lot. Like I was one of those angry people, and it scared me how I could get. And that's from growing up in my family, and that's just kind of was the norm. And it wasn't until I learned that, and I learned this from studying Buddhism, from working with people, from meditating and learning from great teachers. And I asked them, what do you do when you feel anger? And the person who I was with, my teacher at the time, said, I sit with it. I sit with anger. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean you just sit with it? And over time, I came to understand that when you feel anger arising, when you feel these emotions arising, you consciously or unconsciously try to push them down. You try to say, this isn't right. I shouldn't be in this. So you move it away. You try not to exist with it. You try not to work with it. But rather than just being with it, hey, anger, I see you there. What's going on, man? And you just let it rise, and then you let it fall, and you realize that it goes away. Same thing with guilt. Same thing with all of them. They're just passengers in the car, and sometimes they grab the steering wheel. Rather than punching them, fighting them, trying to put them into the trunk, just let them drive for a second. Eventually, they're going to give you the steering wheel back. But it's our brains that make it feel that if this is the feeling I feel right now, it's going to be like this forever and always. And the one thing in life that we can guarantee is that there will be constant change, and that eventually you will die. But that there will be constant change, and taxes. Dominic, before I get into the finance part, a little bit more about the emotions, what do you think?
You know, I always wish that we had more information, right? Because without the information, we almost have to assume things, and I never like to assume things. How old is he? Where is he living? What's the cost of living? How are his parents retired? Right? We don't even know. They might still be working. I think it's always beautiful to take care of your parents. But like Chris said, I don't know if it was because of you in a bad way or because of you in a good way. I saw that I wanted more for them. I see that they love gardening. I see that they wanted to own their own house. I pushed them out in a good way, right? To buy their own house, to take advantage of the good rates.
So I know that you're coming here, listener, to hopefully get a little bit of the finance portion, because we can sit here and talk about your emotions all day, but most people come for the finance. So first off, I want you to know that you're financially secure. Coast financial independence at 30 years old with $800,000 invested and $150,000 in cash is more than just impressive. You've got options that most people don't because of the hard work and the dedication that you put in. Now, your question is about, should I pay off the mortgage? Mathematically, putting $150,000 towards a 3.5% mortgage likely is not the optimal choice. Your money could make substantially more earning elsewhere. I know that you said it's in a high yield interest account right now for the $150,000. I don't know. I mean, again, personal finance is personal, but $150,000 sitting in a high yield savings account seems excessive to me. Could you maybe lower that a little bit and then put more of it into your investments to speed up your timeline? But at the end of the day, I don't think any of this has to do with the money. I think that this is more about your emotions, more about your family, not about the yield on your returns. Your parents have never owned a house before until now, and you help them make that happen. That is powerful. For whatever reason, you feel guilt. And I need you to explore whether it's about the past decisions or your current values. Because paying off the mortgage isn't going to fix the guilt. But it might align with your values if that's something that you're choosing to do. So I need to know, is paying off the mortgage something that is bigger? Is it because you feel that I shouldn't be in any sort of debt? Or is it because I feel guilty for moving my parents to move? You need to know what's actually going on. You need to know thyself, just like Socrates said. Because from what you said in your letter, the mortgage, it's already manageable. You said that you're paying like $900 a month, and your parents are likely covering the other, or are likely covering the rest, I would assume, because you said it's $2,000. So you're paying more than half, you're paying about half. And if there's 3 people in the house, then it would normally be what, $700 each, $666 for 2,000. But you're paying almost half of the amount, and they're covering the other. So unless they're struggling, I don't see a crisis here to pay off the house. So here at the Five Guys, we're really big about the middle way. So maybe we can find something that could help everybody here. So instead of throwing the $150,000 at the house, can we consider keeping $50,000 for fun? Because it sounds like you've put a lot of work in and you already said that you have $50,000 that you want to spend and you want to go and live your life, which you totally deserve. Then could you use the other $50,000 to maybe put out the mortgage as a gift to your parents to help maybe take some of the burden away? If you find that the guilt is something that is important to you and you want to get rid of it. But please note that paying off the mortgage will not fix the guilt. You need to figure out why you feel guilty and either apologize to your parents or figure out what's going on there. Because that statement, I don't understand what's going on, but there's something that you're not telling us that you know what it is. So you need to explore that. And then leave whatever money you have left over of the $150,000 as your security fund, as your emergency fund, as your investment buffer. This is the most important part. You've won the game. That means you get to play it by your own rules now. Emotional peace is a valid return on your investment. So many people think that, oh, unless my investments are returning this percentage, then it's the only thing that matters. For you to feel secure, for you to feel happy, that is an investment. That's an investment in yourself. So there's no rush. You can reinvest this in a year or 2 years. You've already given your parents something they've never had, ownership in a garden. That matters more than paying off the balance early to them. I don't know where these feelings are coming from, but that's something that you need to explore for yourself. Because I can tell you that paying off of the mortgage is not going to make the guilt go away. And I still don't understand where the guilt comes from. So that's something to talk to a therapist about, meditate on, or more importantly, sit down with your parents and figure out what's going on in their head. Because my fear is that you have a story in your head about what your parents' story is, and you don't know that to be true.
Yeah, the closer you can get to the truth, the more understanding you can have. And I honestly agree 100% with what you're saying, Chris. And really getting to what your parents are feeling. What are their emotions, right? Are they sad to leave their apartment? Are they happy to be in a new home? So, yeah, I think it's a difficult choice, but I also think 150K in high yield savings is a little steep. It's a little steep unless you're right. Like for me, if you're putting money away in a high yield savings, right, for a rainy day investment, to me that makes sense. And when I say investment, I don't mean stocks or traditional bonds or anything like that. I'm thinking more of like down payment on, right, rental properties, a Section 8 home investment, or like an apartment complex, something like that, right? So that's kind of like my theory that maybe that's what he's kind of thinking, which is honestly great because then you'll have more income and pay off the house faster if you want. But honestly, there's really no need to pay off that house quicker than you need to, since it's only a 3.5% rate. And that's generationally amazing. That's pretty awesome. But yeah, I think I don't have anything else to add.
No, I mean, they've won the game. And right now, This is more about their emotions than math. And that's something that they need to figure out for themselves. So if you need help, reach out to a therapist. If you need someone to help who knows the finance side, you can reach out to me, Chris at monzonwealth.com, schedule a meeting in the top right corner, and we can sit down and at least talk and see what's going on under the hood. Because there's something much more deep here than what the letter has to say. And I don't know what it is. And I'd rather not just sit here and conject wildly. But that goes for even all of our listeners who oftentimes will come to me with a problem of this is the main problem. Where once you dig deeper, you realize that that was not the main problem. There's often many, many things deeper that we need to figure out. So what is the foundation that we need to build our plan on?
This video podcast is sponsored by Monzon Wealth. The content in this podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be considered financial advice. We do not endorse specific products or services. Past performance does not guarantee future results. The opinions expressed are those of the hosts and guests, not the podcast sponsor.
It is crucial to consult with a qualified financial advisor or professional who can provide advice tailored to your specific needs before making any financial decisions, investments, or taking any other actions. If you are seeking specified help, you can reach out to Chris at monzonwealth.com.